So there's been a statement regarding Jadon Sancho by Manchester United that has just come out that I want to switch attention to quickly. And the statement says Jadon Sancho will remain on a personal training program away from the first team group pending a resolution of a squad disciplinary issue. So look, he's deleted the tweet, as we know, but he will not be training with the first team squad, which means he will not be starting unless it gets resolved today or tomorrow. As of right now, he will not return to the first team of Manchester United. The club and the manager are punishing him, not just, I think, for his outburst publicly, but for also not maintaining standards at training and at the club. So, listen, he might turn it round, of course, but not a good look for him. A terrible look for the people that defended him. That said, that the manager must have made this up. Because again, if the manager and the club are lying about him now and really throwing him under a bus, if he was really telling the truth, he'd come out and say something, wouldn't he? Because he'd be like, hang on a minute, I've done nothing wrong. You're just forcing me out. And he deleted his message. You know, I feel for Jadon as well. I think there's a talent in there. I feel like the club's got to try and help him more. However, maybe they feel like, Steve, they've done enough, done all they can, maybe.
3 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe, Big Six show, Jadon Sancho, yeah? They were all telling me on there, he was better than Foden, he's done to do this, look at him at Dortmund, he's playing for England, Pep Guardiola drops a ball at da-da-da-da. I turned around and said on there, it's on the internet, go and find it, that Jadon Sancho has got a bad attitude problem, yeah? And they said, oh no, it's just you, Steve, you just don't like players like that, and you're racist and all that. Load of shit, yeah? I know people in that Man City academy that trained him. I know people that were with him. I know ex-players that played with him. And they said, the kid's just got this issue. He's just, I don't know what it is. He's got all the talent in the world, but he's a bad egg. He's come to Man United, again, the pressure and everything out. They took him out for 3 months, let him have a break. He's seen him running around and training, looked really good. He's come back. Has anything changed? No. Can he get it? This is one of the worst Manchester United teams, yeah, we have seen in years. And he can't get in that team. He doesn't stand out in that team. He don't shine in that team. Now he's causing a discipline problem. All them young kids in the academy are looking up to him. What example is it? Time to get rid of him. It's another 75, 80 million they've wasted down the drain. It's all right buying these players, but who does character references? Who's looking at the overall picture of it? Because Man City do. Manchester City signed Gabriel Jesus. They knew his school reports and everything about the character of him. They read into everything. Jadon Sancho, the red flag should have been, yeah, he's a great player, but are we as a club so strict in discipline that we can grab this player and put him on the straight and narrow? Alex Ferguson could have done it. That's why Alex Ferguson wanted Paul Gascoigne, because he knew he was a mad talent, but he was wild, and he knew Fergie would have got him. He went somewhere else, he was chaos. Sancho's come to United. He's had Solskjaer. He's had, fucking Ragnick. You know what I mean? These players ain't got the discipline. There's nobody there grabbing him and saying, look, you're going to waste your opportunity. And now look at him now. He can't even get in the team.
Do you know what's interesting about it? This is the thing. I am not judging Jadon Sancho on a personal level in any capacity, because being a bad egg professionally, having a bad attitude in training, doesn't mean you're a horrible person. Because I've seen some people online go, but I've met Jadon Sancho. He's lovely. He's a great guy. He isn't a bad person. And I think, again, it's about, and that's what I think longer format content
Nobody's saying he's a bad person, but if you've got an attitude where you think you're bigger than you are, then it's different.
Mate, listen, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Longer format content means you can explore these things. There is a difference from not following professional instruction, training to the right standards, turning up on time, being a bad egg professionally. There's a difference between that and being a bad, horrible, hostile person. I'm sure Jadon Sancho, I never met the guy. I'm sure on a personal level, he's an absolute gem. I've worked with people that are lovely blokes, but when it comes to the professional side of them, they've pissed me off, or they haven't delivered, or they've got an issue sometimes. And it just happens. And what you said there is spot on, though. I blame Man United for this, because there is a lack of due diligence at this club. And I've been talking about it now for a decade consistently. We should know about these things. And if you're looking to sign a player, he might be the exact talent profile, ability profile. He might have every attribute you want. But you read these reports and references, and it's late to training and this and that and all these. That should be a red flag where you say, do you know what? We need to avoid this individual, because for as talented as they are, there's a huge risk. And I've given this example 100 times. A great film that people should watch with Kevin Costner called Draft Day. And as everyone's expecting him on draft day in the NFL to pick this young quarterback. And the reason he doesn't do it gets revealed at the end. And everyone said he was mad. And he said, look, I've got here a report from the police from his 21st birthday when he was at college. And it shows a list of everyone that was arrested. And the first response is, but it's not abnormal for people to get arrested on their 21st birthday. It doesn't make him a bad person. He said, that isn't what I'm worried about. He said, everyone at the party was arrested and not one of his teammates was at his 21st birthday party. And it's stuck with that little bit of the film was stuck with me forever when it comes to thinking about the due diligence at my football club, because what that told the general manager of this NFL team was, if none of his teammates turned up, there's something wrong with him in terms of the way people feel about him. And I don't want to bring that characteristic into our changing room, onto our field. And and listen, it isn't just about Jayden. It's about a number of players at the football club. We should never have brought Alexis Sanchez in. He only turned his head from you to us because we offered more money. That should never be a reason to sign anybody. You should never do it, because that tells you they're not coming for the right reasons. And when it's just for money, you're always going to be let down in the end. They're always going to let you down in the end because they're not coming for there's no desire there. There isn't do you know what? I want to go to United. Yes, I want good money, but I want to go to United and be part of a team that does X, Y, and Z. There has to be an element of desire to achieve at that club, not just, you know what, I'm picking the one that pays me the most. Yeah. You're never going to win like that. And yeah, listen, Sancho, look, I hope he gets into training, works hard, gets back into the team, turns it around, delivers. Because if you can get that player performing, if you can get him right, he's a supreme talent. I really, really do. But my gut feeling tells me he's done out here at Man United. And look, at the end of the day, although the Palestris of this world aren't as talented as him, what are we actually missing with Jadon Sancho not being around? What we're missing, like 5 goals, 6 goals a season? I honestly think someone like Palestri, if you gave Palestri a run of 20 games, I guarantee you would deliver more than Sancho. By the way, and Anthony has done for us in the last year or so. But yeah, look, it is what it is for me. But I do want people to stop conflating this. When someone like you, Steve, says, I was told he has a bad attitude at training, people trying to turn that into you having a character assessment of his personality and how he is as a human being. It's not the same thing in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion.
There's a young kid at Manchester City, right, 2 years ago called Jayden Braith, yeah? Jayden Braith was the hottest property in Holland. Came to Manchester City, Dutch kid, smashed the academy up like it was nothing, yeah? Yeah, no problem. Same people told me, kid won't ever play for Manchester City Football Club. Why? He said, because his attitude stinks. He said his attitude stinks. He walks around the place like he owns it, doesn't listen to discipline, doesn't take his earrings out at training, doesn't turn up on time, doesn't do all this thing. Got a Range Rover, all the bollocks, yeah? Went to first team training first week. Otamendi nearly snapped him in two. I think Stones gripped him up and threw him around a bit. Attitude gone. And then everyone in the City chat was saying, we need to play Braith. Is Braith going to play in the Champions League? Is Braith going to play in this, that and the other? No. Never set foot on the pitch for Man City. Went to Borussia Dortmund on a free. Now he's in Verona or somewhere on a free. Absolute waste of talent. And that's not, the guy might be the best guy ever, but coaches who coach him every day were telling me he'll never play for Manchester City. And that's because they don't suffer them kind of people there. They don't have that potential grenade to go off in the dressing room and upset the harmony there. You can't risk it. And harmony in football is a massive thing these days. You look, Kovacic signed for City. The first thing he said in the interview was, I can't believe how calm and how nice everyone is in the dressing room and that. So obviously he's come from that Chelsea team. It's gone a bit crazy over there. You lose the harmony in your team, you lose a big part of your football club. And these young kids, I don't think a well-run club, you might have all the talent in the world, but if you've got a bad attitude, they don't want you infecting another 9 players because they think they can behave like you. And that's just day-to-day life. You wouldn't have someone in the workplace with a bad attitude in a factory packing biscuits, and he was throwing biscuits in and they were breaking and he didn't give a fuck, because then everyone starts doing it because he's doing it. Then all of a sudden, you're the broken biscuit gang, aren't you? And you ain't doing the productivity. So, you know,
mate,
it is what it is.
I totally agree. Looking at Man United, I remember watching the Class of 92 documentary, and I remember Raphael, I think he's in Raphael Burke was his name. And there was a few other players on there as well who were very good players. Another kid from London whose name I now forget. I'd have to go back and research it. And they were talking on the show. And they were asked a question around what was the difference between you guys that didn't make it and the class of 92 that everybody knows. And essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, he was like, Gary Neville wouldn't stop training. All Scholes he cared about was football. David Beckham, as much as he was a bit of a poser and loved nice clothes and everything else, he worked on his football first. He said the rest of us, training would finish, and those boys would nearly always stay back and do extra. He says, me and some of the other lads, especially the out-of-town boys that had come up from London and other places, some of us was considered, like Raphael was actually considered up until about 15, 16, the best of the bunch. But he goes, what we would all do is we'd finish training, we'd have a little bit of money in our pockets, boom, straight down the Arndale Centre, straight down Market Street. If you don't know Manchester, you don't know Manchester, trying to get girls. And that's what we were doing. And he said, I look back now and that's where it went wrong. We thought we'd made it. We thought we ruled Manchester. We thought we were the men. And he says, and the boys that ended up delivering were the ones who did not stop working. And that's talent like Giggs, talent like Beckham, talent like Paul Scholes. Talent like Nicky Butt, who was a very, very good football player. It was about working hard. And for me, I always remember Rene Mullenstein talking about, you might not remember it, well, Adnan Januzaj was one of them, and the other lad was called, what was his name? He had his debut in the season that Moyes got sacked. I want to say his name, something James.
Reece James. Reece James, fullback.
No, James Wilson. That was it. James Wilson.
James Wilson, yeah.
And he got his debut that season and scored 2 goals against Hull. Rene Mullenstein tells a story about how Januzaj had broken into the first team, and then so did James Wilson. And James Wilson was a real hot property talent from the academy, and we were all raving about him. And Rene Mullenstein said there was a change in them suddenly. The way that they were sitting in jacuzzis, the way they were talking to other academy players, the way they just started holding themselves at training was like they'd made it. And getting into the first team doesn't mean you've made it. Not at a club like Man United. That's how the standard should be. And he almost said at that point, he kind of knew that their careers would dwindle. And it's almost like you can see it. And if there's nobody to get hold of these individuals, and by then Man United discipline levels had dropped, the standards had dropped because Fergie was gone and it's got progressively worse. So this is why I'm annoyed at Sancho, but I'm more focused on the football club because we have been burning talent now for a 10-year period. You know, and I still think, again, there are some players who have come in and worked hard and done the best they can. But there's been so many from our academy, some that we've purchased, who have just not hit the heights because they don't have the work ethic, which is why, by the way, I don't hate on Rashford. I don't hate on Bruno. I don't actually hate on Scott McTominay. I don't hate on AWB. I'll criticize them because these are the guys that work. The very least is I want you working hard for my team. That's a prerequisite. That has to be there as a base. When you're not even putting in the mileage, I've got no time or sympathy for you. And I can tell the people that don't work hard because when you're older and you've experienced life, highly talented people that don't deliver are only failing because of a lack of work ethic. It's just, you're a business owner. You must have seen this. How many times have you hired or been around talented people that don't work hard enough and they're not achieving? That you've experienced it. And that's the thing for me. Like, I feel for Jadon, but maybe with the way he is as an individual professionally, coupled with Man United's lack of discipline and due diligence, together, it's a toxic combination that hasn't helped him and hasn't helped the club. And I go back to it, been saying it for 10 years, mate. Until the fans stand up and change who owns us and we change how we're run, this stuff will continue to happen. The only good element that's come out of this is, thank God, the board have backed the manager and not a player in terms of player power. Thank God we've learned from that mistake.
I think Ten Hag, he'll come from Ajax, which is a well-run club, to be fair. They've got a lot of old players in there, directors of football. I think Van der Sar was working there and things like that. They've got this chain of command which knows what it's doing. And I've said it before, the United chain of command from the top to the manager's just not there. It's just not there. And it looks like all these leaks that are coming out of the club now, all these situations that the club's going through are not getting run proper by a proper club. And listen, I'm a City fan, so I ain't going to tell you that I give a shit. So for me, I could sit here and look and say, I love it because United's in turmoil. Because let me tell you this, if City was in turmoil, they would love it. You know what I mean? They would love it. When we were shit, They loved it, you know. So I'm not here to tell any Man United fan what to do. I'm just on the outside looking in. All I know is that City are doing all right. But these 1 minute Sancho, then Anthony, then Greenwood, that situation, thought he'd been released. Now he's not been released. He's on loan. So that means to me they're going to bring him back. Harry Maguire, Johnny Evans. Someone was saying Phil Jones is back training there now because he can't get a club and things like that. It's just, I just don't know. I mean, United fans must be just going fucking mental, especially the ones that go to the games week in and week out. The ones that have been there for years. I've seen the Fergie days now to this. They must be just be going crazy. About
it's horrendous. It's all about how we're run. And I don't necessarily think Greenwood will play for us again. What we're doing is we're hanging on to him as an asset, hoping he does well in Spain on loan, and then we sell him for money. The Glazers, you know, I mean, look, they could sell him for money and then go, look, we've got £50 million and we're going to, donate this to, domestic abuse charities. And then you'd probably look back and go, okay, fair enough. But they won't. They won't. It'll go into the coffers of the club.